was just like not even in my world to like work out to take care of yourself, that it was more of like a torture like thing, but it like I had to come to the harsh conclusion that like I have to take care of myself if I am to prevent like illness.
Hey friends, welcome to Keep It Simple Sexy. I'm Christine Bullock, founder of KO Body Care, certified fitness trainer, and mom of 3 little girls who's just trying to juggle it all and feel as good as possible, all while helping you do the same. I'm so grateful that you're here. Now let's get started, sexy. This episode is brought to you by KO Body Care, the leader in face-grade body care and supplements for total body wellness. Welcome, all you fitness fans, wellness fans, to Keep It Simple Sexy. Today, we have an amazing guest. She has been in the fitness industry forever. She is a mama of a little toddler, just turning 2 years old. You know how rough that is. And just still finding her way to a balanced lifestyle. Today, we have Anna Victoria. She has over 1.1 million followers on Instagram, a thriving fitness career. She's the CEO and co-founder of the Fit Body app and her newest venture, Vitalura Labs proteins. Plus, as I mentioned, she's a mama of an adorable little toddler. Women from across the country look to her for strength-focused workouts that minimize time while maximizing results. We all need that, mom or not. For inspiration, because she is just so sweet and so kind and understanding. And of course, now is a super mommy hero. She's an advocate for women going through fertility issues and a support system for women needing guidance through postpartum. Today, we will dive into the benefits of strength training, the effect of fertility on the body, recovery from pregnancy, and feeling the best you have ever felt. Welcome, Anna Victoria, to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, beautiful. Yes, I'm so excited to have you here. We met a long time ago at a fitness shoot, but I'd heard so much about you from our mutual friend, Sarah Urbanic, who we both work with, and just what a beautiful soul you are. And immediately when you meet you, like, she's such a genuine soul. What you see is truly what you get. And she's there as that support system for all her 1.1 million followers. Like, you really want that for them. You know, and we'll break into some of the journeys that you've learned or gone through and what you've learned from them. But like being that open book and being very raw with your experiences is why so many people follow you and love you.
Thank you. That's really sweet.
Yeah, of course. So let's go back a little bit and talk about how this whole fitness journey began.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, gosh, it's going to be 10 years, which is so crazy to me that that much time has flown by. But just to throw it back and go over it really quickly, I was with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. We moved to China and I was put in a spot of like just being really like on my own, uncomfortable. Like it was like a growth space for me, like really having that time to focus on, okay, what do I want to do with my life, my body, my everything. And I decided that it was time to start taking better care of myself, because in those prior years in college life, that was like the last thing on my mind. So yeah, I really just kind of dove into what it meant to fuel my body, to move my body. But the hard part was that I hated it. Like I admire so much the people that are like, fitness has been a part of my life. I grew up, I'm an athlete, all those things. That is so amazing. And I think that that's so important to have that type of inspiration. But like, that wasn't me. It isn't me. I'm not someone that's like, oh, this is just like a part of my life. Like, I have to fight for it. And
What do you like to do? You like to just take it easy?
I mean, like in terms of workouts?
Just so people can relate to you. No. Relate to like, what is it that you didn't like, or what is it that you would normally like to do instead of doing that maybe?
Oh yeah, no, just laying on the couch,
Okay.
like watching Netflix
Everybody
and
can
like
relate to that. Even
getting
recently,
Taco
I
Bell.
can relate to that. So yeah.
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
it was such a it wasn't a mental, it was just like not even in my world to like work out to take care of yourself, that it was more of like a torture like thing, but it like I had to come to the harsh conclusion that like I have to take care of myself if I am to prevent like illness down the line because I do have family members that I was seeing struggling with health problems that could have been prevented and or like minimized
Mhm.
by moving their body, fueling their body. And so I just like yeah, had to just look at their kind of learn from what they've experienced in life and try to prevent that for myself. So,
So you started to go on this journey in China. How long were you in China for?
a year.
A year. Did you
Mhm.
move to Italy too? Do I remember that?
Yeah, after China
Yeah.
because I
Was
had
that
lived
when you jumped on social media?
yeah,
Yeah,
it
because that's what I
was.
remember back in the day. I mean, so that was about 10 years ago?
So 2012 we
Yeah.
moved to China, and then
Mhm.
2013 we moved to Italy until 2016. And that's really when, Instagram and my page started blowing up.
And it did, and I will say even at that point, social media it wasn't what it was now with, like, influencers or fitness influencers,
No.
nothing like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was amazing to see your journey. I still remember bits of
Mhm.
it, like, in that apartment or whatever it was there, of I think doing workouts and
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So you talk about going on this journey, how and and within, your site, you talk a lot about balancing your lifestyle. What kind of things did you learn at that point that you still keep now?
Yeah, really just, like, not making fitness impact, like, every single decision of my life, like and I don't mean that, like, in a way of not taking care of my like, decisions that aren't benefiting me, but just that, like, I want to be able to enjoy going on a holiday and, like, not thinking a single thing about the calories I'm eating. Like, I just don't think that it needs to be that, like, invasive in every little thing that you do all the time.
Yeah.
I followed, like, an 80-20 approach, which, 80% of the time of my life, I'm focused on eating whole, natural foods, moving my body, and the other 20% that is so important for your emotional and mental well-being, I will eat Taco Bell and I will like, skip working out if I don't feel like it or on vacation, I won't work out at all. It's just not putting pressure to like be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Giving yourself that permission to just be human and like not always be thinking too much,
And
about
I think, that's why people love you so much too, because in the fitness, having been in the direct part of the fitness industry where we were, like, I started off as the modeling, as being
yeah.
on set all the time, and really having the pressures on you, it was constant for me. I did have to constantly think about it because you were being fully judged upon it, whether, no, you're right for the part, no, you're not right for the part, too many abs, too little abs, whatever it was. And obviously growing from that, but there are so many fitness people in the industry still, especially on social media, because now you just have so many
Mhm.
that their focus is the appearance,
Yeah.
and your focus has always been how you feel and
Mhm.
living this balanced lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah, that's ultimately why I started my fitness journey to begin with, is because of how I was feeling. I actually went to the emergency room. I was having some digestive and GI issues, and they were like, "Here's medicine." And I was like,
what's the root
"Shouldn't there be
cause?
some discovery about like
Yeah.
what are you eating? How are you moving your body?" And it took me a few months to like even go through that thought process on my own and just realizing that I was able to get to a place where I could eat and not constantly have acid reflux like every single meal, and I didn't need that medicine type thing. And yeah, so it was definitely my own journey of like fighting against it a bit and
Yeah.
then just like realizing.
What would you say? Because I have 3 little young girls now,
Mhm.
as daughters, and I'm very aware of even what I say out loud about myself at this point too, but having been in such a physical industry as a ballerina, even in the beauty industry that's focused on appearance, what would you say to women out there who are still, I feel like you go back and forth when you are focused on your appearance so much. It's like, I want to focus on the inside, but I keep focusing on the outside a bit. How do you
Mhm.
make that huge change as to where it's really not part of it. I mean, it's always like, I know we're always aware of our appearance, but there is just a turn at some point where you really just focus on what you feel like and you love your body wherever it's at, and your appearance and your wrinkles and your hair. And, it's just
Yeah.
like, you just love it where it's at. You don't really care that much about it,
Yeah.
um, because you're just living the best life you can.
Yeah, I think gosh, I'm so interested in this topic and it's so complicated and nuanced and I think about it a lot because now I have a daughter as well. And, you know, I feel like there's no perfect answer or approach. It really just depends. But I think for me, like what I hope to pass on to my daughter is that what she looks like is not the most important thing about her. And just like
Mhm.
I also think though that like I don't ever want to demonize wanting to look good because I think that's human nature,
Mhm.
and even in my messaging to women, like if someone comes to me and says, like, I am not comfortable in the way I look and I want to lose X number of pounds. Like, I'm not gonna be like, "No, like, don't have those goals," like, that's not
Yes.
realistic, and that
Mhm.
is gonna turn people away to go find someone that tells them, "Oh, this quick fix method is gonna help you get," and you're doing them a disservice by,
Mhm.
like, belittling or diminishing the desire to want to look good. It is human nature. But what I think is so important is, like I said, just to know that you're so much more than that. Like, that is not what is the most important thing about you. That is not why your friends or family love you. But with all that being
Mhm.
said, I grew up being raised by a single dad. I was not raised by my mother. My mother
Mhm.
moved to Mexico when I was 10 years old, and I moved in with my dad. She moved for work, and I was still in contact with her and everything, but I didn't have that constant female presence.
And it
And
was still different back then. Like, I don't say things to my daughter that I don't say, like, I do say you look pretty, but the first thing I say to them, even if I know I'm gonna say it, is you're so smart.
mhm.
You're so talented. You're so brave. And by the way, you look really pretty today.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing, because I've tried to reflect on I will say I don't have many, of course, I'm a woman and I pick things apart, but I don't have any significant like body image issues or like eating issues. It's never been a thing for me in my personality. And that might be why balance works so well for me. But I do know that being raised by a single father, he never said one thing about my body, about what I ate, about losing not it was like that concept didn't exist in
Yeah.
our household.
It's like how dudes think.
Yeah,
It's
and I
great.
mean, I wanna say,
Yeah.
like, not all dads, are
Yeah.
like that, but I realized working in this industry how many women would come to me and be like, "My body image issues started when I was 5 because my uncle poked my tummy and made an oink oink sound," something like that. Like, it
Yeah.
can start so young,
Yeah.
and there's, like, a piece of writing, there's no one knows the author. I've tried to find it over the years, but it pretty much says how to talk to your daughter about her body. Like, you don't. Like, not from a weight loss perspective, but from a it's okay, but from like a strengthening, like being healthy, moving your body perspective. So just like
Mhm.
the aesthetics out of
That's true.
it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think that I could truly talk about this for hours because I'm
Yeah.
so passionate about it, and I don't have all the right answers, but just, like, taking from my experience in my personal life and also from my community and my clients, what they've shared with me, that's
Mhm.
the approach that I'm gonna hope to take.
Yeah, and just being, I mean, leading by example too, I think, for women to see more breakthroughs of more people not saying like, this is going to get rid of your love handles, which I'm sorry, I've done that. I was forced to do that in former things that I shot. They were like, you need to like use these terms. And now it's like, I'm never using those terms again. So I am sorry for those
No,
former
but I feel
workouts.
like that's not your fault because, like you said, you were told to do that, and also, like, that's what society wants, which
Mhm.
is so frustrating. It gets the clicks, it gets the views,
It
it pulls
does.
people in, and it's like, what it's so hard to take such like a, I don't know if,
180.
yeah, and, like, I feel like like I was saying earlier, if you completely ignore people's desire to wanna look good, they're gonna go to someone else that are going to do that in the improper way. So I try to find that middle ground of like helping women achieve it in like the healthy and sustainable way.
And in doing that, you actually have your own app, which I feel like you've had this for a long time, the Fit Body app.
Yeah. Mhm.
Tell the viewers, what kind of workouts can we see on there? What's on the
Yeah.
app?
So, we really focus on strength training workouts as like the core, but then building like cardio elements and other elements around it. So, like, we're not like all strength training and like no cardiovascular work or any of that. We really try to focus on giving you the best of both worlds in the same session. Like, I've
Mhm.
always tried to make it be, because again, I was the person that I'm like, I'm not going to spend hours in the gym, like I need to figure out a different approach that will help me both do strength and cardio in the same moment. So, really kind of like moderate intensity strength training, primarily dumbbell training with some high intensity moves. But that was like where we started. And then we've broken off and we have about 12 programs now, some that are more low intensity strength training, some that are all body weight, no weights at all, postpartum, like cardio classes, things like that. So it's really expanded beyond where I started, but our mission is always to help women be the strongest and their healthiest selves. And if they see physical results, which they will, that's the cherry on top.
Why do you believe in, and if you go to her social media too, she has so many, mini workouts on there for you, and just um like inspo, like you can create your own workouts with a few moves, all of that. If you have like 5 minutes, you can do the
Yeah.
full workout with your kiddo. But you do have a lot of strength training, even if it's body weight,
Hmm.
and you use larger weights sometimes.
Hmm.
What would you say, why do you believe in strength training so much to get the results? And what would you say to the ladies that are afraid that they're gonna, quote, "bulk," um, or won't go over 2 to 3 pound weights?
Yeah, so there's a few different layers to this. So
Mhm.
first of all, women do not have the testosterone levels that men do to like gain big, big muscles like that. The women that you see that are like that have spent years, if not, excuse me, if not decades to build that type of physique.
And there's a
Uh,
lot of sometimes too, just hormonal, checks that people have now too. It's not all like steroids or anything that these women have,
yeah,
but they're
PEDs,
yeah,
performance
they're
enhancing.
getting just testosterone, that kind of stuff too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
even naturally, and so more
Mhm.
naturally, I should say.
Yeah, so it's not something that happens overnight or is like
Mhm.
easy to accomplish by any means. And actually, muscle is lean in nature. There is no such thing as bulky muscle. When you see visibly what you think is bulky muscle, that is actually just fat on top of lean muscle. So, really, if someone wants to avoid bulky muscle, they just would focus on gaining strength, but also losing fat, which is achieved via a caloric deficit.
Mhm.
So there's that. And then as far as strength training, why it's so beneficial for women is that's really what like tones and tightens our body. And um, I do want to point out that you don't need to use weights for. So strength training and resistance training are essentially the same thing, but resistance training is like where body weight training would be a resistance training. Any type of resistance, which could be with body weight, Pilates, is resistance training. There's so many different modalities of resistance training. Strength training does lend itself a bit more to weights. And the reason why I personally lean into that is because it is easier to track and see progress with strength training because of progressive overload. Progressive overload is where you have to, and for your body, in order to see progress, to get stronger, faster, you need to be adding some additional type of stress or demand on your body. So that could be more reps, more weight, it could be time under tension, it could be a variety of things. And if you're only doing, like, for example, body weight, it's just a little bit harder. It's still absolutely possible. But with weights, it's just easier to progress and add on top of what you're doing and see progress. So,
I agree, and the more muscle mass you have, the higher your resting
yep.
metabolism. If you are progressing in the sense of, like, let's say you're just doing body weight all the time, it's up to you to progress that somehow, and sometimes we don't
Mhm.
know if we are or how we are, or if we are in time and strength and all of that. So, you may plateau easier, you may not be gaining muscle, even if it's in the sense of lean muscle too. So the metabolism, like there's just a whole thing to it. So I absolutely agree. The Keep It Simple Sexy podcast is brought to you by KO Body Care. Right after I turned 30, something happened that I was not expecting. I noticed the skin on my body was aging faster than the skin on my face. Crepiness, sunspots, fine lines, and wrinkles, they all seemed to creep up overnight. And then it hit me. I'd been using all sorts of powerful anti-aging ingredients on my face, but I wasn't doing the same for the skin on my body. So that's when I had that aha moment to create KO Body Care. KO is face grade body care, which means that it's pure and effective enough for the face, but formulated just for the body. We use the same ingredients as high-end clean skincare brands to help skin look smoother, brighter, firmer, and younger. The product that put us on the map was our Body Beautiful Cream. Beauty editors are obsessed with it because it combines clean, natural ingredients, omega oils, green tea, mangosteen, goji berry with clinical actives like hyaluronic acid and CoQ10. It leaves the skin feeling so hydrated, so smooth, so soft, and even gives your collagen production a boost. So are you ready to see what face grade body care can do for you? Then go to kobodycare.com. For our first time users, use the special code KISS20 for 20% off your purchase. I always get this question. I have been using heavy weights and strength training since I was 15 years old and I was a ballerina. And so I absolutely believe in it. I think it too, like you have to think of yourself as like an artist, like you're sculpting the David. And I actually do want a little bit more muscle or in my butt. And also with light weights and body weight, sometimes it gets a little more saggy. And with some heavy weights, you can get, without bulking, but like a nice meaty butt, whatever it is, or my biceps or my triceps to keep them lifted and to continue to trick your body with different modalities too. So I agree. I want to focus on ladies. We need our strength training.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. Are there any at-home props that you love other than what kind of like weights would you recommend for a woman or any other props at home that that you love?
So definitely dumbbells. That is like go-to. I think you can get like absolute complete workout for months and months, years and years with just dumbbells. But if they're expensive. Dumbbells, especially if you want multiple weight sets. I remember during the pandemic, we were doing some productions for the app and trying to get equipment, and we were just like, this stuff is getting more and more expensive. It was, also supply and demand and that whole stuff. So I hope it's come back down. I don't know because we got everything.
We ordered it then too, and it was expensive.
And so if there is a money situation, then resistance bands really are amazing, so affordable, great to travel with. So that's something else that I would recommend people to look into, both the short loop ones and the long loop bands. I would say like a good bench. Like if you don't have a bench, you can use a chair at home, but I always worry about stability and people falling and things like that. So I would say that those are really my main go-tos.
I love that. And especially too, if you're a woman going through pregnancies and around that age, the bench is really vital as well for a lot of your workout too, to assist. Speaking of pregnancies, you have been very open about your season of fertility focus of IVF. How has that affected your lifestyle routine during that time? How did that affect your lifestyle routine? I mean, I went through this too, and so I love diving into this. What did you learn from it? And did it change like your fitness routine at all and your diet, all of that? Because I had it for 5 years. I went through IVF and all of that. And I ended up having to make a lot of edits. So I just want to see what changed for you and what you can, tell the ladies.
So I would say that the first thing that I changed was, first of all, increasing my calories. Because I will say, I think I was in a caloric deficit for way too long. And I was always kind of focused on, strengthening, like absolutely, but also like being lean. Like, just to be honest, like, again, I didn't grow up in fitness. I do think that like I am somewhat naturally lean, except for my tummy. Like that's really where I hold weight. And just like seeing other women in the industry that just had six pack abs year round, I was just like, oh my goodness, like that's not me, And like I
Mhm.
was trying to like, achieve that level of physique. And I didn't realize that like doing like a reverse diet period would have been so beneficial. Now I know. But yeah, I do think that I was in a caloric deficit for too long. And what happens then is metabolic adaptation occurs to where your resting metabolic rate decreases and just overall you move your body less. So, what was a caloric deficit for me started, my maintenance calories started decreasing. So I just kind of like, what do they say?
Depleted.
Yeah, I was depleted and I was stuck in such a low calorie amount. So increasing my calories was number one. And then also, I did at the suggestion of my reproductive endocrinologist, just swapped, I kept strength training. They always said, keep strength training. Just, try not to be going for PRs like, all the time, which was not my style really, anyways. And then I swapped any like super intense cardio sessions. Like I was cycling a few times a week, really intensely. Any high impact moves, I swapped it for more low impact. And the really important thing I want to point out, because this has become kind of a trendy thing to hate on HIIT workouts lately. And I blame TikTok. It's a TikTok thing. The thing that they're not understanding is that it is not about exercise increasing cortisol levels. There's a difference between acute cortisol levels and chronic. And acute spikes in cortisol are not bad. It actually it's a part of working out. But if you are eating enough to support that level of activity and to support your hormones, then those workouts are not to blame. It is the energy deficit that you're putting yourself into because you're not eating enough. So, anyways, I didn't change my workouts to low impact because HIIT is bad for you or any of that. It was purely just to get my energy balance back to like a healthy spot. So,
And I think too, and going back to the HIIT workouts as well, like I agree. Yes, I did have so I was pretty much the same as you. For anybody going through this, I mean, I was definitely in a calorie deficit. I was underweight for what that needed to be. So I had to just change everything and but I was also running on a highly stressed kind of lifestyle too, just nonstop. So, in speaking about cortisol levels, I think, yes, you have to watch. So, then my workouts were doing the same. I did have to balance it a little bit
yeah.
more and decrease. But I agree, like high intensity, you can do it in so many different ways too. And as long as you're eating correctly, or you have
Mhm.
anti inflammatories too to help ward that off, you're replacing that, whether it's the collagen breakdowns, just the breakdown of the body in general, they're great for you. And especially people with
Mhm.
hormonal imbalance, like I have PCOS, which makes it hard to get pregnant, is one of those things.
Yeah.
The high intensity is actually really great for that as well, just to help balance it. And there's different ways you can be doing it. Like I believe, anytime you get your heart rate up and down, so you could be doing a higher intensity Pilates. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
what people think, like this kind of
Yes.
crazy plyo jumping all the
Yeah.
time. It can be a little more low impact. And so, how long did it take you to go through that process?
Gosh, I feel like I'm still going through it in a way, because
Mhm.
we were TTC for 2 years, 1 year fertility treatment, and so I would say 1 year is when I was really like, "Okay, lower the intensity, increase my calories, get that energy balance, back to a healthy spot."
Mhm.
But then we did 2 IUIs, 3 IUIs, sorry, that all failed.
Yeah, me too.
Took a break, yeah.
Mhm,
Then
mhm.
we just went straight into IVF. So,
I
like,
know. I wish I
I
would have
I
done it earlier.
I know, I know. So, I can't really say that, like, "Oh, that's," like, how long I went through and if it had an impact because we just went straight to IVF. I will say, though, that now, postpartum, and we're gonna be doing IVF at some point in the future, I am just more conscious of I am not interested in dropping my calories significantly low. Like, it's not worth it to me. No amount of reduced body fat is worth harming, you know, fertility chances or any of that. So,
Yeah, and your health. I mean, if it's doing that to the
yeah.
fertility, you
Mhm.
have to think of what it's doing to your overall health, and that's what I found from what IVF failed us completely. And I was like, there has to be an underlying cause, same kind of like your original journey. Like, let's figure out what is actually going on here and being able to heal that.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any words of wisdom for the ladies out there, just in the sense of their mental or physical health? Just the biggest piece of advice that you learned through that process?
Yeah, I think that it's so hard because it feels in that moment like it's going to last forever. Like where you're at for life, and it's not. It is just a season, and I don't think that that makes it any easier to go through, but it just might help a little bit and know that you're not going to be there forever. I mean, look at you, Christine. Like, I'm sure you never, like, your pregnancy announcement was like the biggest shock I think I've ever heard. It was obviously so, so happy, but I was just like, this is amazing. And I know you had, a beautiful baby girl already,
Mhm.
but that was just so amazing just to see like how the most unexpected thing in life can happen and change. And
Yeah.
yeah, so just remembering that it's a season, and I don't know about you. You can share your thoughts on this, but I now being here and having my daughter Aurora, like had we not gone through that journey, it wouldn't have been her. She
Yeah.
like we were waiting for her,
Mhm.
and like I'm so grateful that we went through it and that she's ours and we're hers. And so I think that just like kind of looking at it in a way of like, this is what it was meant to be. And it was so hard to get here, but it was worth it.
I
You know?
absolutely agree. I mean, and you mentioned we were always going to adopt, but we were going to adopt like second. And so
Yeah.
we ended up adopting first. And then I got pregnant with Penelope and then Josephine. And it's funny, even with Penelope and Remington, I believe that Remy was supposed to come first because Penelope is just this different creature. And Remy's so brave. And so even like a few weeks ago, Penelope started school. Remy on the first day of school at 2 walked straight into school, never turned around to me, and was like ready to go. And Penelope is just having a hard time, is brave. She sees her sister and she's actually braver than she would be without Remington there. So I can't imagine what it would be like if she didn't have Remy.
Yeah.
And it's just a support system to help her grow. And it's like it was all meant to be that way. And then, little Josie as well. So I absolutely agree. And I think in the sense of being a mother and a woman, we learned so much from it that period had the most effect on every other part of my life and how I see it and how my career developed, how my spiritual life developed, how I protect my family, all of that. So it's like what you learn from those lessons and those downtimes. It might not be IVF, but whatever that is for you, you'll
Yeah.
it is a season. You are correct. I
Mhm.
love that. Okay, so now you are the superhero mommy that we talked about. I love watching the video and Aurora and your husband as well. So cute. And you just had the most amazing vacation in Italy again. I was voting on your clothes, what you were going to wear over
Oh
there.
my
You looked adorable.
gosh.
But you were also very open about, she's 2 now, but you were very open about your postpartum journey
Mhm.
and fitness or health wellness journey. And you gave a raw glimpse of the recovery. I think first of all, can we talk about how was delivery? Because that has a big part of it as well.
Right.
How was your delivery?
Yeah.
You have to go into
I
the all of it, but
Yeah. No, I'm an open book. I don't mind sharing about any of that. It just went so completely opposite of how I ever expected. I was hoping for a vaginal unmedicated delivery. My mom has 7. There's 7 of us. I'm number 6. And she just always talked about like, oh yeah, like it's a mental game, and it's dental pain is worse, like was her approach to it. And since then, she's actually apologized to me. She's so sweet. She's like, I hope I didn't misrepresent it. I was just hoping to not like put fear into, because she has 4 girls, have put fear into you about childbirth, and I feel like that might have set you up, da, da, da. She's so sweet. But I do think she had very easy deliveries. She told me that it was like 2 hours in and out for all of us, like didn't cry once type thing, or didn't scream. But every woman's birth experience is just completely different. And
Mhm, mhm.
for me, long story short, 15 hours of labor, 3 hours of pushing, and she was stuck.
Jeez
And she
Louise.
was at
Oof.
station 0. I was fully dilated. She was like almost fully descended. And I was stuck pushing for 2 hours at station 0. And they told me, they're like, you have 1 more hour. Which is like a lot of people have said to me, like, oh, that's not the best thing to do, to like give a pregnant woman like a deadline, you know? But, I think that they
No,
were
but for
just
the health of the baby, you
exactly.
do.
It was for the
Yeah.
health of the baby.
Yeah.
And I remember at the 50-minute mark, it's because they said an hour, they were like, she hasn't moved. And I was like, okay, let's go. Like, let's do it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I didn't want, it's not considered an emergency C-section because she wasn't in distress. Like, neither of us were in danger, but I didn't want it to get to that point. So
Yeah.
I just said, okay, let's do it. So labor plus C-section, and it was August 2020, so no one could come visit, no one could come help. We literally bought a house. We signed the papers
I love
August
that.
2019, and yeah, really good timing. I mean, great timing for the valuation of the house and everything, because in 2020, everything exploded. But we literally got a second floor in the house for his mom to come from Italy and stay with us for 3 months.
She
None of
couldn't come. Oh
None of that
god.
could happen. We were completely alone in this house in a new city. And it was really, I feel like postpartum and it's like to begin with is so isolating. But then when you add on top of it a pandemic, and then you add on top of it this really traumatic birth experience that, like, physically, like, yes, mentally and emotionally, but like physically, I was really struggling to recover from.
Yeah.
And, my husband took on so much. And early on, because
Plus
I,
you have work though too. I mean, it's like you guys run businesses. I mean, that part of it too. It's just hard all by yourself.
yeah, absolutely. And he almost has, like, I feel like some elements of PTSD from like those first few weeks. Really, like, the men go through it too. Not as much as the women do,
I'll
but
ask my husband this time around how he feels.
oh no.
No, I'm just wondering. Yeah. No, it's not that bad, but it's true. I'm sure they go through stuff
Yeah,
too.
they do. Or at least I just, Luca, my husband, is such a bleeding heart. That, like, he feels everything that I feel almost times 10. Like, I'm the type of person that if something happens, I'm like, I can do it. Let's go. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's life. And he is just like, oh my gosh, so bless his heart. That's why I love him,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, so it was really isolating. It was really mentally, emotionally, physically hard. I kind of don't have a good thing to say about it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I think a lot there are so many women that had babies around that time. I will say that probably 50% of people listening right now
Yeah.
could have been around that time. But I was too, because mine was June 2020 and we had just moved into a new house too. And I
I
remember seeing
remember.
your new house too and moving and
Yeah.
understanding how overwhelming that could be. And was. And even like, the new one's just a month old now. And it's a lonely journey. You're constantly there for the baby and trying to figure out, and that baby best. You just do, you can experience and understand it more than your partner. Usually you carry the baby, just is what it is. But God bless you. So
Yeah.
then how did you get it? I'm guessing, what was your postpartum plan if you had one, and did it change based on, not even based on COVID, but the experience, but just based on even having a C-section and all of that?
I don't think we had a plan. I
Yeah.
don't think that, like, we could even begin to comprehend what to plan for.
Yeah.
Truly, there was no planning in place whatsoever. We did end up getting a postpartum doula when
Oh,
she was about
nice.
3 weeks old, because we were like, "We need help,"
Yeah.
like, and it was just a really sticky time too with COVID and people coming in the house, and there was nowhere we could go to get
Yeah.
help, like
We
daycare.
did that with Remy even being adopted. We had a postpartum doula because we had
Mm.
no idea what to do. So, yes. Just for the baby.
We
Yeah.
needed mental and emotional support.
Yeah.
We needed to know that, like, what was happening was normal, or that she would be okay. Like, there was so much anxiety
Yeah.
and at those first, moments. So that was a really, really big help. Um, And now things are so different with like our community here. Like where we moved is a new community and it's all like young, new families. So now we have a great support system. But back then it was non existent. So.
Yeah. And then when you started to get into the fitness portion of it, of
Mhm.
recovery, I read that you went to a pelvic floor specialist. Was this first you went to a pelvic floor specialist?
Yeah, it was first time ever. And I had worked with one like work wise, because in the app we have a postpartum program and I wanted it to be like with a pelvic floor physical therapist. And so I knew about it, but it was my first time physically going. And I had
Mhm.
to wait until I got 6-week clearance from my OB and get the referral and all that. And it was life changing. Like I don't understand and I absolutely have like a like what do you say a chip on my shoulder about it. Like why is this not standard care? Like
Yeah.
this is so important and I want to say it's not just about postpartum.
Yeah.
It's not just about women. Men can benefit from it too. Like it is so important for a human being's health.
Health. Mhm.
Health, yeah. Pelvic floor physical therapy is standard care. And I
Mhm.
mean, it's not. It should be though. So,
Mhm. Mhm. I went to one actually when I got pregnant this time because I realized I had issues from the last time around that I
yeah.
hadn't dealt with. And just because I was like, this is going to get so bad this time around, what can I do now? What am I going to do afterwards as well? I agree.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
vital. And even if you've never had babies, there's still like loosening, all of that kind of stuff that goes there, especially if you don't know that much about fitness and you've never had the education or have a great instructor
oh yeah.
to personally work with you and really find those kind of like muscles and stuff. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I've worked in it forever and I had issues.
Same.
We
Same.
trained in pelvic floor. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I've always tried to focus on and preach about breathing with your diaphragm and engaging your inner core, your transverse abdominals, like all of that. So that I got down easy, but I had no idea that there was a whole nother world about breathing into your pelvic floor and relaxing your pelvic floor and just like and all of that and what is needed for a healthy pelvic floor. And it's different for every person. It's
mhm.
not Kegels. Like that is not the like blanket suggestion. Like that is for someone who has pelvic floor weakness and other people have tension. And
Yeah.
Kegels is going to make the problem way worse. So it's just so important that people go in and are seen. Um,
And even if you think you're doing a Kegel, I mean, look, in my Pilates training, we did a year. We learned so much about the pelvic floor and Kegels and all of that. And I learned I was not doing anything close to it. And like what you're saying too, the fully relaxing part of it, it's
mhm.
amazing. It's like any other muscle, like your brain, like your eyes. I mean, we have to work it all,
Yeah,
you know?
so
And
if anyone takes anything away from this, like, go like, just plan at some point to see a pelvic floor physical therapist. Whenever you feel it's the right time for you, like, it is something to not, like, push to the side.
Mhm.
It's so, so important. Even just as, like, a one appointment thing, just to be like, "Hey, what's going on down there?" Like, it's not something that we can visibly see, so you can't self-diagnose. Like you said, you might
Mhm.
be thinking you're doing something and you're not. So
Yeah.
anyways.
Yep, and we have a former episode for all of you guys, actually with the pelvic floor my pelvic floor specialist, so you guys can tune into that too and check it out. I talk about peeing my pants, so it's great. Okay, so then where did you go from there? So you saw the pelvic floor specialist. I think I agree. I think everybody start there. Um, and then you were talking about too, I remember this. Your daughter was 100% reliant on you for milk for 14 months. So you couldn't cut your calories or try and lose any weight. And I think that's great. You kind of talked about like you're just in that situation now where you're not as focused on that or you're not focused on that at all. Same place with me. I'm just like, whatever, like I'm feeling good. Am I feeling good today? What do I need? It's not like, oh, I need to like pop back or I need to look a certain way. And it really is actually focused on what am I eating for this milk and to replenish and get the nutrients that the milk needs, all of that kind of stuff. And it's a beautiful place to be. It like forces you to be the best person you can be because you're being it for somebody else who you love.
Mhm.
But how was this on you mentally as it was your first time going through this? Like, this is my second pregnancy, and I just don't care. I'm 40. I'm like, whatever.
Amazing.
But you've always been a person, and not that it's about appearance, because you have not been about that,
Yeah.
but I still think it could be a struggle in not being able to make certain progress or accomplish goals, which we've hit upon too.
Yeah, it was hard, and honestly, like, it was mostly hard because I am in the public eye,
Yeah.
and as much as a large percentage of my community, like, could care less what I look like,
It's
but,
the
like,
random people that don't know you. I
yeah,
know, I know.
in
The random
society in
comments.
general, yeah, like, it just I felt pressure to, like, bounce back or whatever, just because of my job,
Yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah.
if that wasn't the case, like, I truly don't think I would be thinking a thing about it, so it was hard, and again, like, I what I do is never, like, because I'm like, "This is like, I wanna get to XX pounds." No. But I do have performance goals. Like, I
Yeah.
do focus on being strong and, like, getting faster. I That is, like, the one area, not just the one, but, like, one of the main areas. Like, I'm not fast. Like, I'm not a cardio person, but I do think it's important, and I try to improve from wherever I'm at, you know?
Mhm.
And so there are physical changes that come with that. Like muscle definition is like more what I focus on. And so it was hard to not be able to see any of that. And, so for anyone that doesn't know, I did breastfeed my daughter for 7 weeks, like latching, and then she stopped latching. We did the tongue tie revision. We saw so many lactation specialists, all this and that. And it didn't work for us. Apparently, she has a really high and narrow palate. So they were saying that that could be a
That's
reason.
mine too. That's Josie. That's what I'm going through right now. We just found out she had tongue tie on Sunday, and then they just
Mhm.
tested it. Yeah, okay. So anyway, we won't get
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, and that there's nothing you can do about that. Like,
Yeah.
there's literally, like, it just, yeah, from what I know, anyways. So I had to exclusively pump until she was 14 months old. We tried several times to change over to formula. Like, God bless formula. I would have given it to her in a heartbeat. I did. I tried. She didn't accept it. We talked to her pediatrician about it and told him the situation. And he said, you can go 3 days without her drinking any milk or any formula. At 3 days is where you got to call it quits and you have to go back to, giving her bottle, milk. And at the 2.5 day mark of her refusing, which is like so like that that sounds like child abuse,
It's
not
scary. Yeah.
it's scary. It's scary. It's devastating. It's just nonstop crying. We tried and tried and tried. It was a no-go. Like,
Yeah.
and so I just was like, all right, I'm just gonna be exclusively pumping until we can wean her from milk, which is breast milk, which is at 12 months. But then she got COVID at 12 months old. And I was like, I'm not gonna put her through, like, it was a comfort, of course,
Yeah.
like her drinking milk was a comfort and helped her sleep. So we got home from Italy, 'cause she got it in Italy, and got back into our routine and everything, and then started the weaning process and finally ended everything at 14 months. So
And that's just a job in and of itself. I mean, and it's stressful. It honestly, that kind of stuff adds a little bit of cortisol, I think,
mhm,
and just making sure that the baby, because I go, especially when they have these like latching issues, it just does a whole thing to the body.
mhm,
In the sense of cortisol, but you just making sure pumping, yada yada, whole nother thing.
mhm,
But you went through that in the public eye, and but what I loved was that you're just very open about, look, yeah, you would have loved to be able to get back to just
yeah,
performance stuff and feeling
mhm,
great and feeling like you're improving in that sense. Um, but it was just wonderful for postpartum women to see, as a woman who has 1.1 million followers and have been following you for a long time and watching your journey too. And that you did get some ridiculous comments too, because we all do on social media. But you were like, um, look, I was going to say some rude things, but you didn't say the rude things. Like,
we did.
just you were very kind about it, but it was like, this is
I
where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, going back to, my body is not the most important thing about me, and
Yeah.
especially when it comes to feeding my daughter. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna choose, like, what
My
needs to
daughter.
happen, yeah,
Yeah.
for my daughter over getting back in shape, and if that bothers some of you or, like, it's not as motivating, like, I'm sorry, but this is real life.
And
So,
yet you were still out there doing the same kind of workouts that you would have done really kind of anyway, you
yeah.
know? So
Mhm.
from there, now you've progressed. You've had this, 10 years now, been in the public eye, been doing the fitness workouts, evolving, all of that, and growing your following, which is great, of your whole community. You have now launched your own protein brand.
Yeah,
Congrats.
thank you.
Yay. It is called Vitalura Labs.
Mhm.
And tell me a little bit about it. Why now the protein and what sets it
Yeah.
apart?
Yeah, honestly, why now is like I finally gave in because like Luca had been talking to me about this for years and I was truly scared. I was like, I don't know, like are people going to want this from me? Like I need to be sure I have the right team set up, like the right specialists and all of that. And I truly do think that my fertility journey and just like going through all of that and then like pregnancy, postpartum and just all of that like was a roadblock in like me really feeling like I could set out on this new venture. So it was time. We had the right team in place, the right specialists and everything. And it actually took almost 2 years, a little bit over a year and a half. So I would say maybe, a year and a half.
Mhm.
And so pretty much the main reason why we started out on this to begin with is because I had found my OG followers will know this story. I found a protein that tasted like ice cream. Literally, I was having a blended shake like frozen with like, frozen fruits added and this and that. And it was like I was eating ice cream. Like who wouldn't want that multiple times a day? And we had a friend who worked for a supplement company. And we told her about it. And she was like, can I send it to a lab for you guys? Like, I want to see what's in this. How does it taste so good? Protein doesn't normally taste this good,
Yeah.
And so she did. We're so lucky to have access to a lab through her. And it came back that it was all filler. It was all filler, 3 grams protein.
Wow.
So you can
Wow.
imagine what I was ingesting
Yeah.
for I don't even know how long I was drinking it for. 2 years? Minimum 1 year? I would
Wow.
say yeah. So that I already knew that, like, supplement companies do not have, like, a ton of regulation, or the supplement industry, I guess I should
Yeah.
say, but I don't know, like, I'm a trusting person, and I just always like, "Oh,
I
it's
don't know how
fine."
that would pass though. I feel like being in the supplement industry myself, like there are some regulations and they can test that at any point and it should have been tested. Like there are random checks and all of that kind of stuff. Especially if you're global too.
Right, and I don't wanna make it seem like, "Oh, you can't trust someone," like, that's not it. I really do think that the large majority are fine, but,
Yeah.
like, also, we just don't know, and so for us, when we embarked on this, we were like, "We're gonna pay" it's expensive to get it third party tested,
Oh yeah.
and so
Just to
we
create a company, it's expensive. People are like,
yeah,
"You get free protein now." And you're like, "Yeah,
yeah.
but I paid a lot of money for it."
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was so expensive. So
Yeah.
it's called NSF certification. It's a third
Mhm.
party certification whole system where they certify what is on the label, the macronutrients are what's in the product, and that it doesn't have any added like or harmful ingredients or heavy metals. And we, of course, passed. Of course, we knew we would, but once we got it, we were like, yes, because
Yay.
I just think that everyone deserves to have confidence in what they're putting in their body. And, I don't want to I don't want to say people who don't have it, like, you can't trust them because it's expensive, and small businesses, we're a small business, like we bootstrapped both of our businesses, from the ground up. But, it was just something that was so important to us that we were like, it's worth the cost and we hope it's gonna pay off,
Yeah.
in the long run,
Yeah.
and it absolutely already has. So that was my personal journey and why we wanted to create Vitalura Labs. We did launch first with plant-based protein. I'm gonna be totally honest, like, I'm not that person that's gonna put a marketing spin on everything I do. Like, I am going to tell you exactly how it is. And it comes down to whey protein. The price has quadrupled in the last year to produce and to the quality that we want anyways.
Yeah.
And we were not willing to compromise on that quality. And
Well,
just
also then you have to the consumer has to understand they have to pay more too.
exactly.
And so when you're trying to understand that the economy where the economy is right now and for
Mhm.
each of those neighbors that you're selling it to, I understand it's just like we're trying to, create a wholesome product for you that you can trust, but also is price friendly for you so you can be on it consistently for your health. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And my husband, who is our CFO and runs all the numbers, he's like, Anna, like we can't charge people this, like, and also like as a business, we can't sell something that's going to be at a loss,
Yeah.
like we can't
Yes.
do that.
Because you won't
So
sustain. Mhm.
yeah, so we really just are waiting, waiting, waiting. He's like constantly every week getting updates on the price of whey, and we think that we might be there, and truly, it's not going to be a moneymaker for us. Like
Yeah.
it's where
Yeah.
it's at. It's just we want to at least break even, which is like crazy to even say that as a business owner, but we are wanting to get whey out as soon as possible, just not be at a loss and just maintain the best quality possible. So whey is coming at some point in the near future.
Yay.
And then pre-workout was already in the works, so we're very excited for
Yay! And
that.
then so what is in your, plant-based? Like, what grams of protein and
Yes. 25 grams of plant-based
nice.
protein. It's a
Mhm.
complete protein, which that much protein in a plant-based protein is very hard to come by.
It is.
And yeah, it has it's 100 calories. It's just 25 grams protein. Um, and let me see what else. It has pea isolate. That is why it's so low carbs because it's isolating the protein away from the peas. Peas normally are high in carbs, so it's pea isolate protein, brown rice protein, and pumpkin
Amazing.
seed protein. Yeah, it
Yeah.
to give it a more complete and bioavailable
The
amino
complete
acid.
protein. Yeah, that's great. And that's so vital because a lot of proteins, especially the plant-based, which more women are on,
Mhm.
um, have the pea and the brown rice, but those two don't have the complete amino acid profile. And so the amino acids that are missing from those are actually the amino acids that are depleting a lot of the women's hormones too. So it's great that you
Yeah.
have the full amino acid profile in
Yeah.
there. So, because it's just like this constant cycle.
Mhm.
Especially now more plant-based, all of that. Do you know what is in your supplements? Like, do you really know? With the supplement industry being so poorly regulated, it's hard to know who to trust. This is where Vitalura Labs comes in. 25 grams of plant based protein, zero added sugars or artificial flavors, gluten free, and it actually tastes amazing. Let's be real plant based protein is usually gritty and tastes like earth, but you don't have to compromise flavor for quality, and Vitalura Labs is proof of that. To top off the great quality, texture, and taste, Vitalura Labs is NSF certified, meaning there are no harmful additives, heavy metals, and what is on the label is in the product guaranteed. So, if you're looking for the best tasting and highest quality plant based protein with a complete amino acid profile, look no further. Try Vitalura Labs chocolate gelato and vanilla gelato plant based protein today by going to www.vitaluralabs.com.
I'm truly not saying this. I cannot vouch for something that I don't wholeheartedly believe in. It's just not in my personality nature. It
Yeah.
is the best plant-based protein I've ever tried. Like it normally tastes like dirt,
And that's important.
flavor
Yeah, it's
dirt, you know?
important. Yeah.
Yeah, and ours like is hands down best texture, best tasting. Whey is going to be a piece of cake because whey is, it's just whey. It's a lot easier to
Yeah.
flavor. Whey.
Yeah.
Plant-based is really, really hard. So the flavor is something we're really proud of.
Yay! Well, that's exciting for all the new stuff that you have coming out too. And it
Yeah.
just partners perfectly for
Yeah.
that balanced lifestyle, like, that you've always been part of just replenishing what
Mhm.
you've done with the strength training or what you've lost in the calorie deficit. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, a new baby after Aurora.
Exactly.
Um, are there any other words of wisdom that you have for, ladies on their personal journey at all ages?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I feel like there's, so many things I could say, but I feel like that concept of everything is just a season is really important no matter what stage of life that you're in, whether it's fertility or postpartum pregnancy or just, your professional life, relationship, just remembering that everything's a season and to go easy on yourself, and we're all just doing the best that we can, and that best will look different every day, and that's okay. You can't compare, yourself to have one baseline best and need to reach that all the time. Like, it can fluctuate, and I think that celebrating that and the small wins are really important. And yeah.
Your soul is so beautiful, and that's why you have such a grand community out there. So, thank you, Anna, for being with us today. I really appreciate it. We always end with just a few speed round questions. So, I'll just have maybe 2 here.
Okay.
Finish this sentence. I unwind by.
Oh gosh, I would say taking a bath or watching Netflix. Again, I love that's in my nature to just be a couch potato.
Yeah, us too. Me too. But a lot of people say that. So, don't worry, you're not
Okay,
alone.
okay. I feel like I should add being with my daughter, but like,
Yeah. No,
taking a
that's fun, but it's not unwind.
yeah,
It's not
exactly.
relaxing.
Yeah.
Not yet. And you feel best when?
Oh, pregnant.
Oh,
I love being pregnant. Postpartum is like the piece that if I could leave it, I would. But I love being pregnant and I can't wait. We're, starting to think about baby number 2, and I am very lucky that I am excited for that part of the
I
journey.
know. I love it too. It's one of my favorite times as well. Well, thank you so much, Anna. I hope you have just the best day. Thank you for imparting your wisdom with all of us today and inspiring, I'm sure, so many.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor, and yeah, great chatting with you.
It's good to see you. I
You
miss
too.
you in LA.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. You can check more information or follow Anna at Anna Victoria on social media. And her websites are thefitbodyapp.com and vitaluralabs.com. Thanks for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and feel free to share this with a friend or family who needs to hear it. Have questions you need answered? Text me at 1-310-361-8697. Make sure you follow me on social at Christine Bullock, and have a healthy, happy week. See you next time.